can you tell us more about like the actual workout itself and how you go about um, running people for a workout that, is going to give them a great workout experience as well and great results? Yeah.
Sure. So, over time, one of the things we do a lot is customize the workout to the individual. Um, One of the things I saw in the early super slow zone days, right? They wanted to be a franchise, and it's like, you know, there wasn't much customization. Like you had the it wasn't exactly the big five, but it was something like you had five exercises you could do, and you couldn't vary from that. I mean, I watch for things like fatigue responses. And so, if they don't want to do a genetic analysis, not everyone wants to do, but I really try to focus on like individual time under load and whatnot like that. Okay.
Is
Generally
that
the
what a
workout
fatigue response is? Those,
exactly. I
okay,
really
got it.
watch for fatigue responses. And we talked about that quite a long time ago in like our first podcast we did together about
Did you
how
re-listen to it too?
not last
You just got a great
not
memory.
yesterday, but I had it on in the background a couple weeks ago.
Okay,
Yeah, and it not necessarily in preparation, but just to rehearse some of the stuff we originally talked about. So I did listen
awesome.
to it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I do we still do a lot of that, okay? Customizing the time under load.
Hmm.
It's and it basically I usually do 5 exercises with people. That's whether they're starting out. I don't really do much more than that. I mean, I'm really trying to get them to focus on motor learning, on mastering each of the exercises they do, on perfecting it before we start to switch things up. But that may take, I don't know, 8 to 10 workouts, sometimes longer, maybe 12. And then we start, like on a second or third routine. But it really depends on what that
Hmm.
person has going on. So when they walk in the door, I spend an hour with them on the first session, and I will let them talk as long as they need. I sit down with a blank piece of paper and I go, okay, let's talk about what your goals are. What do you want to accomplish and achieve? And I just start writing, I just start taking notes. I really find it impersonal. And this is something that I changed very early in the beginning. Normally, Tom, you'll put like some kind of waiver in front of someone or like a form to fill out,
Right.
and there's no dialogue there. Okay. There's no dialogue whatsoever. You can't explore or ask them any questions. And so I just start out with a conversation. Let's just talk. What are you looking to achieve? And I start taking notes. And then, they'll usually expand upon whatever illnesses they have or injuries. And then I'll get to ask more specific questions. What is the mechanism of that injury? Or when did this happen? And if you let people talk, they'll tell you a lot about yourself. And so that conversation starts from the very first time we sit down, and they can go for as long as they want. Even if I'd like to do like a 30-minute consultation and a 30-minute introductory workout. But if they have more to say, I'm going to let them talk for as long as they want. I'm just writing and taking notes or asking more questions so they can. And that sort of cements the relationship right in the beginning. You
Hmm.
have to be a really good listener and just listen about what they have to talk about. And of
Yep.
course then, you sort of design the treatment plan or the workout on what they have. I mean, obviously, if someone has serious lower back problems, well, we're going to try the Medx lumbar. We're going to focus on some of that stuff. And so, and I've had back problems in my life too, so I can really empathize with some of these people. I was laid up for a couple weeks at a time, and you see how I've always been able to rehab myself with the Medx. And you see how so many people unnecessarily have surgery. The first thing
Yeah.
they do is they go to a doctor and, okay, we need to operate, or it's just not, there's a lot of needless surgery out there. When you have
Yeah.
access to a Med-X lumbar, or the tools that they have. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, so that conversation starts, and um, it's interesting. If you ask people questions, they'll talk about themselves for quite a long time. But I think that's really important. I think that open communication is much more important and much more personal than just tossing a piece of paper down and saying, list your ailments, or whatever the case may
Of
be.
course. Yeah. And like when it comes to the actual workout, you sort of say someone's signed up and now they're going through their workout. You mentioned it's 5 exercises. You're customizing the time under loads based on kind of what you're seeing in terms of when they fail. And you sort of like kind of making guesses as to what their fiber type might be, I guess, through that process.
Yeah, sure. I
Um,
mean, right, it's
Go
a lot
ahead.
easier with the genetic test, right, to do that. But
Yeah.
I would have to make observations anyway. So I'm usually observing, the vast majority of people fit in that, minute and a half to 2 minute time interval. Okay.
Hmm.
That's the plus or minus one standard deviations from the mean. That's 66% of the population. So it's the people that fall outside of that the ones you have to be more careful with and
Yeah.
do the appropriate things with. And so usually I start the 5 exercises, I'll usually start on leg press. Okay. I like to start on leg press, and we have the super slow version of the MedX leg press. It's a little different. It was actually made by Ken Hutchins. It looks more like the super slow systems leg press. But I like to
Just side
start
note, if
there.
people want to see your studio, they can go to Facebook, go to Exercise Science LLC Facebook page. You actually see the studio tour you did, which shows you
Yes,
obviously
that's right.
the
I
whole
have a
studio and all
video.
the machines. Yeah, and you've got that leg press came to mind then. So yeah, we'll link that up as well in
Okay,
the show notes to this. Yeah. Sorry,
cool.
go ahead.
It's okay. It's the reason why I like to teach the protocol in there. It's easy for them to see and feel bottom out, endpoint. You could teach them the repetition schematic on that exercise. So we usually start there
Yeah.
that they can learn. And obviously, we all feel leg press regardless of what the weight is. It's just, the exercise that works the largest muscles in the body all at once. They get a little bit of the metabolic demand. And I'm not looking to have them go to failure at all. I'm just looking to have them learn the protocol, learn, the exercises and master and sort of develop motor learning.
Hmm.
um, so we'll normally start on leg press, and then I may go to row, the MedX row, which has we have the super slow MedX row, which has a super slow cam, and they can feel the fall off. And I'm also at the same time describing to them what's different about our equipment and the benefits of the machines. So as they're doing this, I'm teaching them what that positive cam does and how it falls off and how the goal, the function of the machine is to match the potential strength curve of the human body. And so they're learning that whole time that they're doing the exercise. And then I may do either chest press or overhead press. Usually we do lower back for most people just because it's such an amazing tool and they really feel the benefit from that. And I may even do like a cervical extension with them. um, just depends on what they have going on. It could be a leg curl, could be cervical extension, could be another upper body exercise.
Yep.
I sort of, leave that up to the person I'm working with, more or less.